What if you could actually change the past? It's a question we've all asked ourselves, right? Well, today we're going to dive into a kind of theoretical report that looks at the very architecture of time to figure out why that might be, well, completely impossible. And trust me, this isn't just some abstract thought experiment. This is really a cautionary tale about the fundamental laws that govern our entire universe.
I mean, who hasn't imagined it? Getting that one chance to go back, undo a mistake, maybe even change a big moment in history. So, to explore this, we're going to follow a hypothetical time traveler on a mission to do exactly that. But, as you're about to see, the universe, it has other plans.
All right, so here we are, Section 1, Time's Unbroken Arrow. Our traveler's journey, it doesn't start with some flashy machine. Nope, it starts with them slamming right into a brick wall, the unyielding laws of the physical universe. Before they can even think about taking that first step back, they're faced with this fundamental, absolutely non-negotiable barrier.
So, what is this barrier? It's something called the arrow of time. And look, this isn't just a cool sounding concept, it is a structural requirement of our reality. For our traveler, this means time is a one-way street, period. It's a rigid line that makes sure every effect has a cause, in that order. Trying to go backward, that's not just breaking a rule, it's challenging the very logic of existence itself.
So, you gotta ask, how does the universe enforce this rule? Well, it's got a heavyweight champion on its side, the second law of thermodynamics. You can think of it as the universe's ultimate bouncer, its first and most powerful line of defense against anyone trying to mess with the past. It all comes down to one word: entropy. It's this universal law that everything tends towards disorder. And here's the kicker: that slide into disorder is completely irreversible. Here's a simple way to picture it. Imagine you drop some ink into a glass of water. It starts out as this one perfect, ordered little drop, right? But what happens next? It immediately starts to disperse, to bleed out into a state of disorder until the whole glass is one uniform color. Now, have you ever seen that ink spontaneously pull itself back together into that perfect drop? No way. The universe just doesn't allow it. That, right there, is entropy in action. It's the physical law that literally forces time to march forward. So let's break it down. Our poor traveler is facing two massive barriers. First, you've got entropy, which locks the direction of time. It makes sure it's a one-way trip, no exceptions. And if that wasn't enough, then you've got Einstein's general relativity. This shows us that time isn't separate, it's woven into the very fabric of the universe, something called space-time. And yeah, this fabric can be bent and stretched by things like gravity and speed. I mean, time literally slows down near a black hole. But here's the thing, it can be warped, but it cannot be reversed. The path forward can get a little weird, but there is simply no path back. Okay, on to Section 2, the illusion of a path. So faced with these completely unbreakable laws, our traveler's mission is looking pretty much impossible, right? But then, they find something, a potential loophole, a wild theory that suggests our entire perception of time might just be a grand illusion. And with that comes a very, very dangerous glimmer of hope.
And this is a really mind-bending idea. It's supported by some heavy-hitting physics, like the Wheeler-DeWitt equation. Now, this is a foundational equation that tries to describe the entire universe. But here's the crazy part. The variable for time is just not there. It's missing. The implication is staggering. At the most fundamental, subatomic level, the universe might be completely static, timeless.
So what does that mean for us? Is time a constantly flowing river that carries us along? Or is it more like a movie? See, if time is what's called an emergent property, then history isn't flowing at all. It's more like a cosmic film reel made up of trillions upon trillions of static individual frames. Our consciousness just views them one after another, creating this powerful illusion of motion. For our traveler, this is an absolute game changer. Maybe they don't have to reverse an entire river. Maybe all they have to do is rearrange a few frames of the film. But, of course, there's a huge catch. If time is really just a sequence of these cosmic frames, then the whole setup is incredibly fragile. Think about it. Changing one tiny piece doesn't just tweak a single moment. It could corrupt the entire film, literally shattering the illusion of reality for everyone. This loophole, it might actually be a self-destruct button for the entire universe.
Section 3, a paradox that erases. So armed with this incredibly dangerous new theory, our traveler decides to press on. Now they're not just fighting physics anymore, they're fighting logic itself. And they're about to step right into a logical labyrinth where their own existence is the ultimate trap.
Yeah, this is the big one, the classic we've all heard about, the grandfather paradox. Our traveler goes back in time, finds their grandfather, and stops him from ever meeting their grandmother. What happens? Well, the traveler is never born. But wait, if they were never born, then who went back in time to interfere in the first place? See, it's a perfect, unbreakable contradiction. It's like a logical short circuit that reality just can't handle.
And this existential risk isn't just about your grandparents. It applies to the entire ancestral chain. We're talking about any disruption at any point. A great-grandparent misses a train, a parent decides to go to a different coffee shop one morning. Any tiny change just unravels the whole sequence. And the outcome is always the same. The traveler is just erased.
The amount of precision needed to keep this chain intact is honestly terrifying. There's a concept for this. It's called the precision threshold. And it basically means that the stability of your very existence hangs by a thread, an incredibly small window of time. So just how small are we talking?
Get this. A delay of just 10 minutes in an ancestral encounter, like one of your parents showing up 10 minutes late for a date, could mean a totally different conversation, a different mood. And if you go down to the cellular level, it could literally mean a different sperm fertilizes the egg. The result isn't a slightly different version of our traveler. It's a completely different person being born altogether. The specific genetic combination that makes you is just wiped from history. So any presence in the past, no matter how careful you think you are, becomes an act of existential suicide.
All right, Section 4, History's self-fulfilling prophecy. So direct interference. Clearly, that's off the table. It is way too dangerous. So our traveler decides to try something much more subtle. No physical interaction at all. They're just going to send a simple warning back in time. But this is where they discover that fate has a really cruel sense of irony. So check out this banana peel scenario. Our traveler sends a quick message back to someone in the past. It just says, hey, watch out for the banana peel at noon. So what happens? At exactly noon, the person gets the message, looks down at their phone to read the warning, and bam. They step right on the banana peel they were supposed to avoid. The very attempt to prevent the event became the thing that caused it. It's like the universe has its own defense mechanisms to absorb these kinds of paradoxes. What we just saw is called the catalyst effect, where the intervention causes the event. But there are others. Sometimes the timeline just substitutes the outcome. So you save someone from the banana peel, but then they walk out into the street and get hit by a bus a minute later. The major outcome, the macro event, is preserved. And maybe the most chilling one of all is the integration effect. The idea that maybe the traveler's warning was always part of the original history. Let's move to Section 5, the chaos of a whisper. Okay, so if the big historical events are basically inevitable, what about the small stuff? The unintentional things, a misplaced footstep, a bug you accidentally startle. This is where our traveler discovers a completely different and maybe even more terrifying kind of danger. And of course, we're talking about the famous butterfly effect. It's the idea that one tiny, insignificant action, like stepping on a butterfly in the past, could set off a massive chain reaction of consequences. A ripple that grows and grows through time, eventually creating a present day that is completely, utterly unrecognizable. So here's the irony. While history seems really tough against big, intentional changes, it's incredibly sensitive to tiny, accidental ones. And this right here presents our traveler with an absolutely terrible dilemma. They're caught between two different kinds of failure. On one hand, you have targeted, intentional actions, like the grandfather paradox, that lead to their own existential negation. They just get wiped out. On the other hand, you have even the smallest, most accidental interactions that risk creating these chaotic ripples, potentially rewriting the entire world into something strange and monstrous. There's just no safe way to interact with the past. And that brings us to our final section, the traveler's final lesson. At the end of this long, perilous journey, our traveler is forced to face a pretty tragic truth. This quest to control time, it wasn't a mission of power. It was a lesson in futility. And it only offers a choice between two different kinds of failure. I mean, this is the ultimate choice, isn't it? Do you try to change things only to discover that your actions were always part of a predetermined script, making your entire struggle completely meaningless? Or do you risk one accidental whisper that unleashes a hurricane of totally uncontrollable chaos? There's no third option here. There is no winning move. So, when you put it all together, after looking at entropy, paradoxes, and chaos theory, the conclusion becomes pretty clear.
The very architecture of time seems to have a kind of structural immunity to being rewritten. The universe, through its fundamental laws of physics and logic, defends itself. Which really leaves us with one last big question to chew on. Is our inability to change the past a cruel prison that traps us with our mistakes and all our regrets? Or is it actually our greatest protection? A shield that preserves our very existence and protects all of us from the chaos and paradoxes that would surely completely unravel us. Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this one.